Hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. Today's video is going to be all about CRV, Curve Finance, and I'm going to be going through a couple of reasons as to why I believe an absolutely monster move is coming for this altcoin. We're going to go through some range analysis, some Fibonacci, and also the psychology of the chart as usual. So guys, if you like the video, give it a like. Of course, any comments, subscriptions, always appreciated. Let's get straight into the analysis. To kick things off, we're going to move down to the 3-daily time frame and we're going to do some range analysis on Curve. And you can see the real initial breakdown into the range that we're in at the minute began back in May 2022. You've got an order block, a cluster of consolidation here before the drop into the range. So we're going to outline that upper range. And we're also going to outline the bottom of this range here because that is when, in my opinion, the accumulation began for Curve in almost like a Wyckoff accumulation with your 1, 2, 3 drives to the downside, your second wick to the downside caused a lot of panic, and the third wick to the downside broke the low. But if you notice on the 3-daily time frame, then 3-daily time frame candles actually stayed within that second range, and within them we've actually continued back into the main range. So right now we've seen a break back into the range, a retest, and now we're almost working our way up in a 1-2, 1-2, 1-2 fashion. If you was to think about this in Elliot wave terms, you could potentially be setting up for a massive third wave, which is why I'm releasing this video right now. So a simple thing that you can do in these ranges is a lot of people will often pull the Fibonacci's from the wicks or even higher. But if we've got a set range here with deviations below, we can use the Fibonacci's from the candle body closes down to that bottom wick right there. And you can really see how the range is set. And if we was to draw a line on that 50% retracement here, right there, you can see that is our next major target for Curve, which from current levels is around a 63% move, just to get back to the middle point of the lower bound accumulation range that we're in. If we was to rise to the top of that range, we're talking about a 140% move from current levels, which I don't think is out of the ordinary for an altcoin. We've seen other altcoins fly already, and many people in Curve right now might be thinking, well, I mean, I've been investing in Curve down here and nothing's happening. All the other altcoins are flying. That's a very simple and a rookie error you can make in this cryptocurrency market. When you see the other altcoins flying, you're in an altcoin, you take some money out and you put it into the altcoins that have already flown. Yep, maybe you might get 20, 30, 40% extra on them other altcoins that have flown, but then you'll realize that your altcoin begins to catch up to the market, as this is an Ethereum token on the Ethereum network, with Ethereum now taking a little bit of dominance away from Bitcoin, and Ethereum having its own ETF speculation approval coming up soon. We could potentially see some of these coins on the ETH network really start to rise, which is why I'm analyzing this coin right now. So my upper bound targets really for a lower time frame move is going to be that $1.50 region, which is a nice 140% move from current levels. So really at the bottom still of this lower bound range. And the other clue that we're getting for Curve is the Curve Bitcoin chart. I'm going to go through the Curve Bitcoin chart a little bit later in the video, so stay tuned. That one, in my opinion, is giving us some major clues as to where Curve could be heading on the higher time frame. So if we begin to zoom out slightly now on Curve and move back to the weekly time frame, we'll leave that Fibonacci on the chart of that current range and the range analysis that we've been doing with the 3 hits to the low. And I believe that then is giving us a major clue as to where the next major higher time frame move may be heading for Curve. Because if this is an accumulation range, we're not assuming anything, we're just saying if it is, then why would we go through so much time in an accumulation period like this? Let's take a look at how long this has been going on. It's nearly 600 days. Why would we spend so much time in that accumulation range only to work back to the top of the range and not really break out? You know, we've had a couple of moves to the upside, 1, 2. If we get this next move to the upside and break this high, how many sellers are going to be left in this Curve market? Pretty much all of the sellers, in my opinion, will have left the market on the big capitulation. And if anyone was left in the market and thinking about exiting, they would have took some out there. And psychologically, if they broke the low and went back up there, these people would then be thinking, wow, now I'm definitely taking it all out. And then by this point, if there was anybody left in the market for Curve, weak hands, this is the point they would have sold. And now the next move, psychologically, I don't believe people are going to think that it's a real move. People may just be thinking, oh, we've had this once, twice, 3 times, we've had loads of pumps and we're not really getting anywhere. And then that is when you begin to see the market turning momentum, more buyers, less sellers, and the market ramps to the upside. And the key Fibonacci from our range is really giving us a clue with these higher time frame candles here. I do believe the 361% retracement mark would be the higher time frame key level, which if you take a look to the left right here, look at that candle inefficiency right there, big bearish candle. We know we like to look for the big bearish candles to come in and get filled, just like we like to see the big bullish candles come in and get filled, and they usually do. 99% of the time they do come in and get filled. It just requires quite a lot of psychological stability and quite a lot of patience. As we've seen, it's taken nearly 600 days in this accumulation range. Let's take a look at how long it's been since the top. Over 2 years. Pretty much 2 years there. We're talking a major capitulation, accumulation, and even if we was to get just a simple retrace on the higher time frame candle body closures. Nope, sorry, wrong one there, guys. I always do that. I always pull out the trend-based Fibonacci by accident. Take a look at where that 61.8% comes in at that candle inefficiency, at the 361% retracement that we're potentially targeting. So if we was to think about this in an Elliot wave structure, and we're potentially getting either a C wave to the upside or an impulse to the upside, either way, it doesn't matter too much. We're still going to be looking for 5 waves. And does that look like 5 waves to us? I don't think so. Absolutely not. It looks like the setup to a potential third wave in 5 waves. So I do believe we could potentially be just getting a 1-2, 1-2, 1-2 setup here, which is, in Elliot wave terms, one of the most bullish setups that we could see. So we've talked about the lower time frame, we've talked about the medium time frame and the intermediate targets that we could potentially be looking for the upside. But now let's take a look at a more retrospective view here on Curve, because we know the altcoins not been out that long in terms, other altcoins have been out for 6-7+ years. Curve's not really that old in terms of an altcoin, so I think when you're talking about DeFi and Ethereum approvals of ETFs potentially coming up and speculation of that, a DeFi season could potentially make a big return. We've seen Chainlink move, we've seen Polkadot really begin its move. We've not really seen Curve match up to the moves yet. So I'm not saying that $3 and $4 region has to be the major target. We could very well easily break these high at $6. And I know many people think we might not do that, but taking into account the moves we've seen in other altcoins in the past altcoin seasons, I think we could potentially be looking for something much bigger than $6. So one thing that I like to do, especially on these higher time frames, of course that major level there is going to be a key level. If you're not taking at least a little bit of investment out there and at key other structural levels that we've talked about, upper bound ranges, $2, $5, you're making a mistake in my opinion. Of course it's not financial advice, but that's just my opinion. One thing I want to do here is just point out a wick to wick trend line to the upside. We'll do a couple there, so we've got a bit of a target zone. And another thing I like to do is just take the candle body closures on the monthly time frame of the highs all the way down to the range lows. We're not going to count the capitulation below there because I think that's a deviation. I don't believe that's real price action. So then again, we could even pull it to that bit there where we've analysed that range earlier. And the real targets are going to be up and around $17, $20, $22 for Curve, which might seem absolutely ridiculous. But how many times have you seen in altcoin seasons, you get a couple of months, you don't really get that long. You only get 3 to 6 months of really the altcoins pushing and it's over. So let's see where 3 to 6 months takes us from this level. We're talking about up to May 2024, and if we was to get a rise from current levels at around 60 for Curve, up to these upper bound ranges, 13, 17, $20, we're talking at least 1,000, 2,000, potentially even 3,000% moves. So, of course, us strategically playing the market with TP levels right in the intermediate zones is going to be something we do for risk management. However, you don't want to be selling your whole bag, in my opinion. You want to be at least holding a little bit out for these upper bound targets that we could potentially be getting. Because you don't want to feel like, oh, I've sold everything down here and now we've seen these moves and thinking, oh, should I get back in? Should I get back in? It's one of the worst situations you can be in my opinion. It's almost worse than taking no money out and seeing it ride all the way to the downside when you've seen big bullish price action and riding it 90% to the downside. It's the same feeling that you get to the upside when you're seeing price move up and you've sold a lot, even though you've got a bit of profit, but you've sold all of your altcoins and you see them continue thousands of percent. That feeling is, if not worse than the other feeling of capitulation. So capitulation works both sides of the market. Make note of that and know that the bears are potentially they're not capitulating back into the market yet. I don't think we're still seeing altcoins down here like Curve really not making them pushes to the upside. When we see the pushes to the upside, we know to TP, we know to take profit at certain levels. However, just taking a look at this chart, I think you could potentially be looking at 12, 17, and $20 for Curve, and take a look at that. And whether that's an illiquid wick or if it even counts, you could potentially be coming back up for a potential wick fill up here over a period of 3 to 6 months. It sounds insane, but I've seen it happen in the past, so I'm not going to say it's not a possibility. Just keep it in mind for Curve when you are sort of taking profit on the way. I am going to be leaving at least a bit of a bag, 20% for these upper targets, because if it don't get there, we've got the targets down below to take profit and reinvest at the lows again if we do get more capitulations. So it's always a relaxed approach on this channel. That's how we're always going to do it. We're going to take risk management very seriously and make that our priority. But then we're not going to ignore the upper bound targets that we could get, because we don't want to be missing out and feeling like, well, I've sold everything and I've missed out on the major gains that we actually worked all of these years for. So just moving on to Curve Bitcoin chart right now, and you can see the trend line breakout retest that we're currently getting on the weekly time frame. So I'm not going to ignore that. I'm going to class that as a very important sign, actually, to say that a potential reversal is coming for Curve against Bitcoin. Not only that, we've got the breakout traders to the downside that are potentially saying, oh no, we've retested this level, oh now we're breaking down. However, they're ignoring the trend retest, and that's what we like to see. We like to see these breakdowns, or what are seen as breakdowns, for people to give up and think, well, we've retested the range, now we're going down. Curve against Bitcoin is going to absolute zero. And then usually that's when the market turns around. It works against the United States dollar. It works against Bitcoin. It's all the same psychology where people see breakouts or breakdowns and they think, wow, yes, now's the time. But it's just a deviation, a market manipulation. And we see now for Curve against Bitcoin, we've got a massive range here. Even if we was to just class that as a deviation above, take a look at that upper bound range from current levels. We're talking about 500% at least. Does that marry up to them 1,000% moves that we could potentially see? If we see Bitcoin break all-time highs, absolutely. However, if Bitcoin does not break all-time highs and we start to see a bit of an altcoin season in the coming months and Bitcoin hovers around 40 and 50,000 with the speculation of the ETF, then the Ethereum ETF speculation begins. That's when you could potentially see Bitcoin not break the all-time high, but Curve going for a 500% move against Bitcoin as the money rotates around Bitcoin from Bitcoin to Ethereum to the rest of the market, and that's when the big players start to take profit. So you've got a big range there. I'm looking at a trend line breakout retest here on the weekly time frame for a potential reversal. Many people may see that as the absolute opposite and see it as a breakdown, but that's just the way I work with the market in general. To be fair, I always like to do the opposite, and it seems to be working out at the minute. So as always guys, it's not financial advice from me. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. As always, we're just taking a sat back, relaxed approach to the market. We let the market do the work. We enter at the most optimal sniper levels, and we exit when the time feels right and when we're in enough profit, but also recognizing that we've got higher targets, so I don't want to be selling all of my altcoins, especially when we've got a potential Ethereum ETF approval speculation approaching in the market. So I think Kev's setting up for a big move here. However, one thing we need to make note of is the take profit levels. So I am going to be releasing an updated take profit levels and an exit strategy on my Patreon. If you do want to check out my Patreon, it's just Crypto Ryan 17. It's the same as my YouTube. It's sold out at the minute, so if you do want to potentially reserve a spot, I think there's a bit of a waiting list at the minute. But if you do want to reserve a spot, just message me on Twitter or comment down below on this video. I'll give you a message when a spot opens up or when the newest spot is available. So again, always appreciated for any subscribers and comments and likes on the video. I appreciate all the support recently on YouTube, Twitter and Patreon. It don't go unnoticed, and you guys know you are. Cheers guys. I'll see you next time.